Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us for the first Jamaica VMUG meeting. As indicated on the agenda, we will be discussing what's new in vSphere 7. So let's get into it. We'll start by meeting your local leaders. So I am Rudi-Ann Fagan, and I am the co-leader for the Jamaica VMUG. I am presently employed to the Grace Kennedy Financial Group as a system administrator, where I utilize VMware solutions daily. I joined the vMUG community in 2020 in order to volunteer time to grow the Jamaica community so that we can be recognized as a country with an active VMware base. A little bit about me. I am 35. I have a son. I am a graphic designer by nature, as it's still a part of me. And looking forward to great things with the Jamaica VMUG community. Roosevelt, you're up.
All right, thank you, Rudy. I'm not sure who you're trying to trick that you're 35, but we will take it for now. All right, so I'm Roosevelt Wilmot, leader of Jamaica VMUG, and I'm very excited to have you all here. Just a little bit about me. I'm married with a 13-year-old daughter, and I've been in the IT industry for the past 20 years. I'm currently the Senior IT Infrastructure and Operations Manager at Grace Kennedy Financial Group. I want to share with you quickly. When I started out in IT, I was fortunate enough to have system administrators who were experimenting with virtualization. They were using VMware Workstation at the time. I quickly realized the benefits, and 2 years in to my role as system administrator, I managed to virtualize our first production workload. And over the next 5 years, I virtualized 95% of our workload. Now, I got to admit, that is one of the best career decisions I've ever made. The benefits of virtualization are vast. I remember the first time I vMotion a production server. Now, for those of you who don't know what vMotion is, it's the ability to move a virtual machine from a physical host while it's still in use to another physical host, and the users do not get disconnected. I also remember the first time I took a snapshot of a server. We wanted to test an upgrade, and we took the snapshot, upgraded it, tested, it failed, but all we did was just roll back the snapshot, and it was business as usual. To me, that was priceless. During those years, virtualization truly made my life easier. Now, if you guys are not using virtualization in your business, I implore you to try it out. And nowadays, it's not only possible to virtualize servers, but you can virtualize network as well with NSX. You can also virtualize storage with vSAN. Word of advice to you, virtualize everything that you can put your hands on. Your IT life will be so much better. Now, in the coming months, we will be inviting industry experts to share with us the different technologies that we can incorporate in our business to enjoy the same successes I had, if not more. We will now turn over to Waldir, who is our local VMware resource. He will tell us a little bit about what VMUG is. Over to you, Waldir.
Thank you, Roosevelt. So hi, everyone. My name is Waldir. I work for VMware. However, this group is not a VMware related thing. Let's say this is not focused on business. This is pretty much focused on networking. So that anyone in the, let's say in Jamaica, can get together and share experiences with technology, right? It doesn't have to be absolutely VMware related. So it's to get together, get on, let's say, share knowledge, share experiences. That's why we, let's say, we're gonna be starting with a specific speaker talking about a specific subject. But later on, you can, let's say, join the community, even though not only as a, let's say, as an attendee, but also you can join the community as a leader. So you can talk to, reach out to Rudi-Ann and Roosevelt so if you want to be a leader, and let's say, and direct where the community is heading, and also define, well, what type of new activities we can do in the future. So we work in the background, let's say, from on the VMware side, we support in some specific ways, but mostly this is an open community, not VMware related. So a little bit of the VMUG, about the VMUG. So it was officially launched in August 2010. And it's a global community, right? It has around 150,000 plus members worldwide. And there are local communities in each country. So for instance, in the States, there's several communities based on specific areas. In Latin America, there's several communities in specific countries. And this is the first local VMUG in the Caribbean. So we are pretty excited about that because this is the first one, and hopefully we are going to be able to expand it across the English-speaking Caribbean. So there are one additional thing. There's one additional thing, and it's the VMUG as is an independent organization. You can join the community as let's say a general user, let's say for free. Or if you want to get into some more benefits, you can get a subscription. That is the advantage. And on the screen, you can see what are those benefits, right, of getting in that subscription. So if you would like to try software, or if you would like to do some training, let's say official training, you're going to get discounts. Also, if you want to go at some point in time to the VMworld, you're going to get discounts. And that's it. So that's pretty much around the subscription. So thanks for joining us, and hopefully we're going to see you in the next coming VMUG events. Thanks, Roosevelt.
Okay, thank you very much, Walter. I hope everyone is now a little bit clear about what vMUG really is. Now, let's move on to the main event, the reason why most of us are here. So our guest speaker is no stranger to the region, as he has been covering the Jamaica and Caribbean for the past 7 years. He's Jose Coronado, a senior systems engineer at Dell and a vMUG leader himself for Panama. I consider Jose to be one of the best technical resources in Dell. I've been in IT for 20 years and I've worked with several Dell technicians, and Jose is one of the best technical resources. His certifications and qualifications are extensive, too numerous to mention here. Today he's here to speak with us about what's new in vSphere 7. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat and we will answer after his presentation. Jose, over to you.
Thank you, Teddy. I'm going to share my screen. Okay.
Yep.
Excellent. Well, thank you for the introduction. I'm really excited for being here. Just a note. Actually, one of the reasons why I'm leading the VMUG community in Panama is because initially I wanted really to start working on the VMUG for Jamaica, right? So it's funny how the things move. So I'm presenting now for you. I will be really very involved with the community in Jamaica because it's really the territory that I work all the time, right? So I'm here to speak to you about what we have new with vSphere 7, and more precisely talking about the update 1, that is really the latest and greatest. Normally, the versions is where you see a lot of new functionality, but actually with the update 1 of vSphere 7, we have so many new things that actually is important to mention and make the difference, right? Why we're starting with vSphere 7 because vSphere is the foundation of VMware itself, right? The agenda for today is we are going to talk a little about where we are in terms of the industry, why these features that vSphere 7 comes are relevant, review what are the features that we get with vSphere 7, Then we are going to talk about vSphere with Tanzu. That is one of the more important and revolutionary features that come with vSphere 7. We are going to go through a small demo on how that looks like. And we are going to finish with the specifics of new features of day one. So let's talk about why is there relevant, right? Right now, everybody on each organization, we are talking about cloud, right? Cloud is paramount part of the strategies that all the different companies are taking, right? The reality is that over the last years, something that had been what people is accepting right now in the organizations is that the cloud as a strategy doesn't mean that we are going to put everything on the public cloud, or we are going to put everything on a private cloud. We are talking about concepts like multi-cloud, and at the end, 92% of the organizations are using really both, right? And really part of the value what the customers are looking at is this kind of consistency, and that consistency across the cloud is what we call the hybrid cloud. Other factor that is also revolutionizing the what is happening on the industry is the usage of containers, right? Containers are the baseline for what we call modern applications based on microservices. The reality is that the usage of containers over the next years will skyrocket. By 2022, 77% of organizations will use containers as the primary deployment unit for their data centers. And the reality is that all new applications, or the majority of the new applications being developed are being developed for containers. So if you are not starting, you're not looking at containers as an IT professional at this moment, you are on risk of not be prepared for what is coming, the new applications that will your company require to run. The applications are being developed at a faster pace, because that's how the companies are differentiating themselves. So over the next 5 years, actually, the business will be running or building more than 500 million of new applications. All of them will be using this kind of new methodologies. For running containers, what the industry have already presented and decided as a standard is something called Kubernetes. Kubernetes, according to IDC, we run 97% of the container infrastructure, right? There's other options there that will be like the other 3%, but as you see, is minimum. Again, by 2023, 54% of the containers, and that's something important, right? Some people think, yeah, all these containers, they're going to run on a public cloud. That's not true. There's a lot of people that will continue running also these kind of cloud native applications also on premises. By 2023, 54% of these containers will still be running on your data centers. So you need to be ready to be able to run these new kind of workloads. There are challenges, obviously. How, as an IT administrator, I manage all these new kind of modern applications, right? The normal way that companies have been doing applications is slow and is more expensive. The IT teams want flexibility, right? They don't want to lock in with some specific cloud providers that give you a full stack that when you start using them, you cannot move from their services, right? The new kind of workloads that are running on these applications, on these containers, are workloads targeting to AI, machine learning, deep learning, because all these kind of new ways to get value from the data are starting to use this new kind of logics, right? Be able to be self-sufficient, to be able to be more prescriptive, right? Being able to mine in a more usable way, and more benefit for the companies in terms of the power this application can provide. Obviously, the security. The security is something that is paramount as the cloud is extending. What we used to know as the edge of my company or my data center to secure is not really anymore there, right? We are extending. We have workloads running on different clouds. So how can really I can secure the security? I cannot secure anymore my perimeter. So I need the security to be embedded on everything that I do. So with that being said, we have then the challenge, the challenge between what my application teams want to do, they require, and the challenge of the IT admin. But all of them at the end need to work with the cloud. They need to work with how I can be more cost effective with my public cloud services, how I can manage multiple silos, how I can join the different kind of operating models, the legacy operating model without as a service operating model, the cloud operating model, and at the end, how I can really use and do create new applications and be fast enough to increase my time to market, right? How I can be more agile on how I can deliver more value to the business. Again, as I mentioned, vSphere is the foundation when we talk about virtualization, right? Was not really the first product from VMware. The first product of VMware really was VMware Workstation, right? But when virtualization became something that people thought, hey, I can use this to run applications for production, there's where vSphere came with ESX and then ESXi, right? So VMware vSphere is what I need if I want to start running and the foundation, if I want to virtualize then my storage with vSAN, if I want to virtualize my network with NSX, and if I really want to create a full software-defined data center stack, what is called VMware Cloud Foundation, right? That will provide me a simplified lifetime management, the security we have been talking, and really doing acceleration of my application development. This is really very consolidated, the different functionalities that we have from vSphere 7 and what we have with vSphere 7 update 1, right? I'm not going to go one by one here. I'm going to go to the more important and the more relevant, right? That we have really identified. One of them is the lifecycle manager, right? For the ones that are familiar with previous version of vSphere, there was something called BOM, that was vSphere Update Manager. vSphere Update Manager allow you to create baselines for specific versions of configurations and versions of vSphere that you want, right? The concept was really just related to the software itself, the hypervisor. At some point, starting to add some hardware elements, specifically the firmware for the HBA for Bison, right? But was like a first iteration, right, of what Lifecycle could provide for the VMware environment, right? Lifecycle Manager is the new iteration that is based on the concept of a desired state, right? I can really provide what is the base that I want to be, and that base actually will not just now look at the software, but actually can work together with some certified vendors that can also have also the hardware elements of the that I want to update. In this case, when I talk about hardware elements, I'm talking about firmwares, right? Drivers. So I can apply a desired state, and actually it will automatically remediate the state of my cluster, right? So I have a consistent experience. Is easy and is scalable, right? Because I just need to define one single image of my cluster, that at this moment the cluster need to be similar in terms of the vendor and the configuration, right? And actually that will consolidate and have my cluster in the state that I as administrator want it to be. So this is a unified software, and actually started just with the hypervisor, but with actually one of the latest versions, update with update 1, is that you can also automate lifecycle for other products like with NSX. And this solution on the hypervisor is going to be like the baseline for new kind of lifecycle in terms of the hypervisor. I've been talking a lot also about security. Security is something that there was multiple improvements in security with vSphere 7. One of those, if we start from right, is the vSphere Identity Federation. One thing happened is vSphere had the option for you to integrate, for example, with Active Directory for identity, right? So you could use your local identity or Active Directory. It had the option, for example, to use smart cards for that. But let's say you want to implement something, I don't know, more robust. You want to integrate a fingerprint. You want to integrate of all different kind of identities, right? You want to integrate with something different than Active Directory, right? That was something that was more limited. So what vSphere 7 allow you to do now is that you can actually you can separate the authentication away from the vCenter, in this case, that is the brains of the vSphere, and you can put that functionality on with a dedicated authorization system. In this case, what is supported right now is Active Directory Federation Services, but over the time, the idea is that with the VMware will include more options, right? And with that, you can actually integrate with more things. Other thing is in terms of the encryption, right? Encryption is something that has been supported for a couple of versions already. But encryption at rest, encryption at the of the virtual machines, or encryption at the storage level, right? But something that was not possible was if you want to, for example, to encrypt the same vCenter, that was not possible. So with vSphere Trust Authority, those is that you can have a separate cluster of hosts that is your trusted system, and you can do remote attestation of the cluster that get connected, right? So the key management is outside, right? That's something that have been always that way, but also being the trusting system being outside of the production clusters allow you now to encrypt the full system, right? So this makes this more secure in terms of how you implement the encryption now. Other new functionality is we were talking about AI and ML, right? Artificial intelligence and machine learning. This really specifically machine learning and deep learning is a technology that make use of different kind of accelerators, not necessarily it can use the CPUs, right? The normal CPUs. But the reality is that the way they work, they are much more efficient, especially when you are doing, you're training these kind of algorithms. You can do, they are work better with the GPUs and other kind of accelerators, right? So also when you are doing the opposite, after you train the algorithm, also doing doing inferring of the data is also faster. We use these kind of accelerators. The problem with accelerators is that you have a VMware farm or host cluster. If you want all of them to use accelerator, you may need to put a GPU card or accelerator card on all of them. So not necessarily you make the best use of the resources, right? If a host is not really doing use of the GPU, you are not using potentially the resource. So what vFusion does is virtualize pretty much the accelerators, and you can fraction the GPUs, and you can make use as a farm of GPUs, and it doesn't matter where the workload is actually requiring the GPU, it can consume the GPU from your farm. So you can have like a cluster that is the only cluster that have GPUs, and a cluster without any GPUs can make use of the GPUs through the network. So that is what vFusion allow you to do. So again, and actually this is the functionality that I like the most about vSphere 7. That is vSphere with Tanzu. vSphere with Tanzu, what it do is integrate the Kubernetes on vSphere, right? What is happening is that, as I mentioned, we have vSphere that is the foundation in terms of virtualization. Actually, is a leader on the market. Most of the workloads or data centers are running on vSphere, right? And what is coming is the containers, right? So what is the best and easier way for a normal traditional virtual admin to start using containers? Actually is running on what they already know, that in this case vSphere, right? So this is what vSphere is doing. In this moment, we have two ways to consume Kubernetes on vSphere, right? We have what is the stack from VMware Cloud Foundation that is built to run at scale. With VMware Cloud Foundation, I have the full software-defined data center with network virtualization, with storage virtualization, lifecycle management of the whole infrastructure. And that's how that started. Actually, when vSphere 7 was launched a couple of months ago, the only way you could actually use Kubernetes on vSphere was really through Cloud Foundation. But the reality is that probably not everybody required to run Kubernetes at scale at this moment. Probably we want to really start playing with it. We want to start doing some basic stuff. So what what is actually new with vSphere 7 update 1 is the ability to run Kubernetes workloads without requiring all the different elements that VMware Cloud Foundation comes. In this case, particularly the network virtualization, that actually is something key. So vSphere with Tanzu pretty much use brings a easy way to run Kubernetes. In this case, Tanzu, what is called Tanzu Kubernetes Grid, completely integrated with vSphere, right? The life cycle on all the life cycle of the Kubernetes is embedded on the hypervisor, right? So I bringing this is that the developers can work with the normal way the developers work, that is through and manage through Kubernetes API their workloads, and the IT admin can work and can manage their infrastructure the same way they used to do it, that is through vCenter, right? The idea is to bridge that gap in a way that then we have a developer-centric infrastructure. I can align IT with the developers, and I can at the end simplify my cloud operations, right? With vSphere Tanzu Basic, what I do is that I can deploy a Kubernetes cluster in an hour, right? I can have my normal vSphere cluster, and I'm running vSphere 7 update 1. I go through a wizard and I deploy what is called a supervisor cluster, and with that supervisor cluster will transform my normal Kubernetes, my normal vSphere cluster, to one that also allow me to deploy Kubernetes clusters on demand. Is flexible. I can bring my own networking. I don't have a requirement for NSX like previously. I need to bring my own load balancing system. That's something that also NSX can provide. And I need to provide my own storage solution, right? I can use my normal SAN, or if I have vSAN, I can use vSAN. That doesn't matter. At day 2, I can provision a Kubernetes cluster, as I mentioned, on demand. And Tanzu Basic is really ideal for small to medium scale deployments, right? If we are going to have something at scale, like I mentioned, it's better to have on the VMware Cloud Foundation stack. That is something that have everything that you require, right? Including NSX for virtualizing the network, also to doing the load balancing. In terms of the security itself, also you can have the concept of namespaces, that you can isolate the different kind of workloads for the developers. So this is what I get with vSphere. The differences, if I want to look at what I can do with Tanzu Basic, and what I can do with what is now called the Tanzu Standard, that is available with VMware Cloud Foundation, right? With all of them, I can run Kubernetes. I can do the lifecycle management of my cluster to something called Cluster API. I can use a container registry based on Harbor, that is an open source registry that actually is part of development developed by VMware. I can have different options in terms of networking. I can run on Photon or Ubuntu, I can have the basic functionalities, right? If I want to, for example, have support for other open source elements of the Kubernetes stack, if I want to, for example, I have requirement to run Kubernetes on a multi-cloud environment, right? I have on my premises, but I also want to be able to connect to a Kubernetes cluster running Azure or running on AWS. There's something called Tanzu Mission Control that comes with Tanzu Standard that allow you to also manage consistently clusters of Kubernetes across different clouds, right? So the benefit here is you can start very easy in a couple of hours, and you have a enterprise-grade Kubernetes on your infrastructure, right? I'm gonna stop here with the PowerPoint. I don't know if you have any questions so far. I see here on the chat that there are some questions, but people have been responding.
Yes, there was one question around if you could use Bitfusion to allow other resources such as CPU and RAM to be used across the cluster. While they answer that just the GPU, but can you elaborate on that some more?
Yeah, correct. The Bitfusion is to share the GPUs, right? The really sharing CPU and memory really will be pretty much what we're doing with vSphere when you are virtualizing and creating a pool of resources, right? But not something that happen over the network. So I would say that's the correct answer. So, okay, I'm gonna jump here to show you how that looks. How looks the vSphere with Kubernetes, right? With Tanzu, sorry, that was the previous name. In this case, something I forgot, something that's normally not on the slides that I want to mention here anyways. I want to log out here. That actually is quite relevant. Something that happened really with vSphere 7 is that for people that start still using older versions of vSphere and that's something relevant because Adobe stopped the support from Java, from Flash, finishing 2020. Is that with vSphere 7 we finally got rid of the Flex GUI, right? So now the only version that you have for managing is HTML5, right? So that was something that was over the different versions getting deprecated. Right now, this is the only option to manage. So,
Jose, is that with version 7 or 7 update 1?
With version 7.
7, okay.
So here I have a cluster, right? I have a cluster of three nodes, and here I see what is called the namespaces. This is to make a reference with normal vSphere virtualization. The namespace is like a resource pool, right? But the namespaces in this case are built to provide resources like a resource pool but from the point of view of the developers, right? In this, I have a namespace here called Playground, and I can see here that I have my Kubernetes active, right? I have my supervisor cluster, that is these 3 VMs here, are the ones that are managing the Kubernetes API for vSphere. And from here on the namespace, I can assign to the developers permissions, like who can manage who can connect to my Kubernetes. I can also assign storage policies. I can assign also capacity and interval CPU memory and storage. And here I'm gonna say what is the content library where I am storing my images of Kubernetes, different versions of Kubernetes that I can deploy here, right? In this case, I have one Kubernetes cluster called TKC01 that he have one control plane VM and 3 worker nodes. Actually, as a virtual administrator here, I can see the status of the different components here, and I can also configure more limits. Actually, these are elements from Kubernetes, the amount of pods, the amount of deployments, amount of jobs. I can actually, as a BI admin, I can configure limits for the developers here. Normally, the way the developer will join is through the Kubernetes CLI, right? In this case, I can do here kubectl. In this case, I'm gonna log in to my supervisor cluster with my, actually the one that have permission, in this case, is the administrator from VMware, for vSphere, sorry, for the vCenter. I'm going to skip the verification, the TLS certification. I'm connecting to my TKC cluster on the playground namespace. I log in successful. And from here, pretty much from the developer point of view, he can interact with the Kubernetes cluster the same way he will be interacted with any Kubernetes cluster, right? I can change context here to my TKC 01 cluster. And actually, one thing I have here is a project, also open source, that is called Octant. With Octant, I can have a more user-friendly way to look at the Kubernetes resources. In this case, actually, I have set up an application called Yelp. It's a testing application that I have deployed here. If I come here to this IP address and I open it here, this is an application that is running on my Kubernetes on the vSphere, right? It's an application that have 3 elements. Have a Redis server, an application server, a database, and the UI, right? Something I like to do here is that, for example, the way Kubernetes works is that if I have defined a deployment and a specific amount of replicas for a component, it will keep that running. So in this case, if I go here and I can delete my pod, my container in this case, actually it already spawned another one, right? It keep the this one is dying, and there's already another one running. So if I come here, my application continue working. And actually, if I pay attention, this is the application server. The last numbers here is QBWAN, is this new one, right? The other died already. So another thing that I can do is I want to scale my application, right? In this case, I have something called Argo CD that is a continuous deployment system, also open source. Actually, this is how I'm deploying my Yelp application. This is pulling from a GitHub repo, my personal GitHub repo, and is deploying the application to Kubernetes. If I come here, and this is the how I define an application in Kubernetes through YAML files. This is a manifest file for my applications where I define the services and I define something called also the deployments. If I come here to the deployment that define the application server, I see here that I have set up for one replica. So I can come here and I move now to 3 replicas. This is VMware code, Visual Studio Code, and I have the plugin to interact with GitHub. So actually I can do a commit from here. Change replicas to 3. There are no changes to commit. Okay. I forgot to save. Correct. Okay, you already committed. And now I want to push that change to GitHub. It's done. Actually, if I come here and I force a synchronization, it already found that there's what a difference, and it already deployed more replicas of the container. If I come here to Coctan, I can see here that now I have 3 replicas of my application server. If I come to the application here and I do refresh, you will see that the application server here is going to be changing the name. So effectively, the is load balancing the workload across my 3 application servers that I deployed, right? So very easily, I can deploy a distributed applications using my, this all is open source tools, but at the end, the backend I'm using is Kubernetes running on vSphere. So going back to here. This is how you deploy, in terms of the networking, Tanzu on top of vSphere, right? I already mentioned about the control plane, this kind, the supervisor cluster. It runs on 3 different hosts. Three virtual machines running on 3 different hosts. And I have a HA proxy at this moment that is the load balancer. This load balancer is the one that will be balancing the load across my supervisor cluster. I need to create multiple networks on my infrastructure, so this can work. And it can use a normal vSphere distributed switch, in contrast with the previous iterations that required NSX. So after enabling my Tanzu Kubernetes grid on my vSphere environment, now I can run virtual machines, and I can run also TKG Tanzu Kubernetes grid clusters on the same infrastructure. I'm gonna jump this. I think we are getting out of time. What is new specifically with the update 1? Right. First one, we already discussed a lot, is vSphere with Tanzu, right? vSphere with Tanzu, all these options without requiring NSX is something new with vSphere 7 update 1. The other major benefits are in terms of scalability and simplification of operations, right? One thing that is happening, we are talking about microservices, modern applications, but there's still these traditional big applications like SAP HANA, like Epic, like Oracle, that sometimes they are huge VMs, right? So one thing that have been happening over the time with vSphere is that the virtual machines that can be created have been expanding, right? So when we launched vSphere 6, we had the ability to run up to 128 vCPUs and 4 terabytes of RAM. With 6.7, was updated amount of RAM that can be supported. Now with vSphere update 1, 7 update 1, actually, as you can see, this gigantic, there are monster virtual machines that we can create. 768 vCPUs and 24 terabytes of RAM. So that this is massive, right? I don't think we have still servers that can actually use and allocate these kind of resources, right? But eventually we will have. The other thing that scale as well is the amount of hosts that we can have with the clusters. I think something I forgot to mention, I want to mention is that, I'm going back, sorry, for vSphere with Tanzu, the only requirement that you have besides the vSphere 7 update 1 is that you need to have a minimum of vSphere Enterprise Plus, right? You need Enterprise Plus to be able to and have an add-on so you can then use vSphere with Tanzu. Going back to the cluster scale, initially we have up to 64 hosts for the cluster. Actually, that was the maximum in vSphere 7. With vSphere 7 update 1, now you can create cluster up to 96 hosts. That being 50% more hosts for a cluster. And to finish, something that might be something very simple, but actually is something interesting, is the fact that now through the vSphere interface, you can actually you can submit feature requests, right? You can actually come here on the console, and you can come here to send feedback picture, and from here you can actually you can also send a problem or send ideas, right? You can send an idea to the development team, something that you figure out that make more sense, and actually you can track that idea, right? You can send the feedback, and you get tracking of the ideas, and eventually, if something that just makes sense, something that can be in the next versions of the product. Okay, so that's it.
All right, great presentation, Jose. Thank you very much for that. I definitely learned a few things that I will be trying out myself. And key in what you said, a lot of people are still of the belief that containers can only be run in public cloud. So I'm glad VMware is actually looking at running it on premises. So we can definitely test it out there. Not seeing any more questions in the chat. So let me share my screen. All right, so the one question that we were seeing was already answered. So let's move right along. Rudy.
It's giveaway time. So thank you, Jose, for that presentation. I really hope everyone was paying attention because we have some giveaways for you. It's going to be based on Jose's presentation. So we're going to track back in our minds a bit as to what we heard. So rules for the giveaway. It's simple, and I hope that we can all just cooperate here. If you've already won, that's it for you. You don't get no more chance. That is it. You win one, you hold your one, and you say thanks, and that is it. Okay? We will be taking the answers in the chat. Another thing I want to say is thanks to our sponsor for this, because they're the ones who really stepped up and allowed us to be able to give away some Amazon gift cards valued at $50. So let's go with the first question. Giveaway number one. Everybody ready? All right, so let's read giveaway number one. What is the new max number of hosts per cluster? So we have A, B, C, D. Oh, wow. We have
Elian is on fire.
Okay.
So I guess Elian was listening.
Let's just make a note. Roosevelt, let's just make a note. Please,
Yes.
persons who have won, when we have acknowledged you, we're gonna just ask that you send us a direct message either to Roosevelt or myself so that we can follow up with your prize. All right.
Yes, that is definitely the correct answer. Maximum number of hosts is 96.
Wow. Okay, that was quick. All right. So you win already, so nothing else for you for the night. Thank you very much. All right, giveaway number two. What is the minimum edition of vSphere needed to get Tanzu Basic? Oh, no, don't say that yet. Let's try again. All right, who? Seattle. Seattle
is guessing.
No. But at least I tried, and I never get it first time. But yes, C is the answer.
The correct answer is Enterprise Plus.
Yes, so let's just make notes of that one also.
Yes, Frankie, you can send us a direct message afterwards.
Okay, Frankie, number two. All right, well, you people are really on fire here. All right, so last one. Quick on the fingers, what kind of load balancers are supported with vSphere with Tanzu? No, it has two answers. Correct, Jose? Two answers? Yeah. Two answers are there? Okay, so.
Yeah, that one is tricky.
It's a tricky one. So let's see who's gonna get it. Seattle can't go again, and White can't go again. Who else is here willing to try that one out?
Can I try?
No, you cannot try. You're not allowed.
Just check.
No, you're part of management. You can't try.
All right, so.
Anybody can guess, you have A, B, C, D. Think about it. Think how we can combine them. Try and remember what Moses said in the presentation. You remember parts. Guess the other part. Nobody don't want $50? Amazon gift card? Who's that? Got her on good. Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you for joining. All right.
Thanks, Leslie.
A and B. Somebody say A and B. Try again. Try again before I leave. Come on, somebody try again. Can I try?
Do we want to break the rules, Rudy? I have a feeling Celia knows the answer.
No. Anyone else is gonna try?
Yeah.
It's something. Something. All right, Roosevelt, get them for a small. First, they can give away another hint for a small fee. Oh my gosh. What part of the prize? All right, come.
I would say yes.
All right, you want to give
Go
them
ahead, Celia.
Yeah, give them another lesson. Give them part of it. Anybody? Okay, cool. I'll note that. Thanks.
Definitely, Frankie. We'll be in touch. Okay, Celia, you want to tell us the answer?
Sorry? You want me to say the answer?
No, not. Somebody
No,
wanted to try for a small fee. So since nobody else, somebody else.
Thanks again, Frankie. Okay, seems like we don't have someone to answer this question. So, Jose, tell us the answer.
Hold on. Yeah, all should have a fair, but they're not trying. Nobody's trying. Somebody try.
Yeah.
Do some letter combinations, man. Come on.
Basil mentioned is two answers, right? Basil already said one of the option was good.
Yeah, he got 1 out of 2.
Yeah, so we're giving Basil half price. Okay, Lauren.
And we have a winner. We have a winner, Lauren.
Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you. Wow. There you go. Giveaway number 3. All right, Lauren. So you are the winner. All right. So congratulations to our winners. It was fun. I know you guys are shy, but maybe the next time we have one of these meetings, we know that, just try, because you never know, you might just win. All right, so special thanks to our elite sponsors. You've been seeing them on all the slides at the stick. They are specialists in data center and security. Established in 2002, Adistech has become a leader in value-added distribution for Latin America and the Caribbean. They focus on distribution, education, professional services, cloud solutions, and Adistech integrated solutions. So thank you very much, Adistech, for coming up and coming on board with us for our very first meeting and allowing us to have some giveaways. Another special thank you to Jose for coming through and giving us the demo and giving us the presentation. Is really informative. I have some notes here that I need to go read up on myself to get familiar with what's new. So you can check out Jose on his blog and his podcast, Share Your Power. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Rudy. And thanks again, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Thanks, Waldir. Thanks, Jose, for that presentation. Thank you to everyone for joining us for our first meeting. Please remember to check us out on Instagram and Twitter at Jamaica VMUG. You can also send us an email at jamaica@vmug.com. And more importantly, please remember to join our VMUG community, where we can continue to share our knowledge, communicate, and be abreast of upcoming events. Thank you, and have a good evening.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah.